Welcome on into GoldSheet TV Super Bowl Prop Edition. Today, Newbie and I are breaking down our favorite player props, novelty props, exotic props, game props, all props that we love for the big game on Sunday. If you want a full breakdown of our opinions on these sides and totals, you're going to have to go back to the WagerTalk TV YouTube channel. Take a look at last week's episode. We broke down the whole game. These are going to be specifically prop centric. We're not going to give our deep dives. Go Chiefs, spoiler alert, but we're not going to be giving any more details. We're just going to be talking our props. Before we get in, a couple quick things. First of all, like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to help us grow. If you love the content, you made money with us this season, and you have learned things from us, hit that like button and subscribe. And also the Wager Talk Road to the Super Bowl special from now until 2025 Super Bowl. You can lock in and get every single pick from the Gold Sheet or any other handicapper you like on WagerTalk.com for a discount that includes all 5% plays, 4% plays, every sport, every pick. So lock that in immediately. All right, newbie, let's talk player props. I'm going to start us off here, and one of my favorite props, we're going to start with the vanilla style props, just your typical player props here. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes over 36.5 passing attempts on this one. Mahomes did not clear this number against the Bills game, but if you look at that time of possession, the Chiefs only had the ball for like 25 or so minutes during that game. It really was a dominated possession by the Buffalo Bills. But this is kind of for me, in a must-win game, how is Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback on planet Earth, not going to have the ball in his hands throughout most, or if not the majority of this football game? Mahomes, in the playoffs, he has a higher propensity to throw the football. Makes sense. Again, best player, game in his hands and in the balance. They want him to throw it. And he has attempted at least 36.5 passes in 10 of his 13 career postseason games. And he's actually averaged 38.5 pass attempts during that stretch. And the 49ers defense, they play a soft zone coverage, and they are actually ended the season with 31st in the National Football League in neutral pass rate allowed, meaning that teams prefer to throw the football on them. I know we've seen Isaiah Pacheco coming in a lot and doing a lot of work on the ground. I don't expect them to go away from that. But the San Francisco 49ers, where they've been susceptible in the run game, is actually where the Chiefs' offense has been the worst in the run game. So instead of Kansas City sticking to their Pacheco on the ground, 25, 26 attempts, I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Patrick Mahomes throwing short, quick, intermediate passes against this soft zone defense. Newbie, any comments? And let's get into your first prop.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a heck of a lot of sense too. And as you mentioned, dinking and dunking is a way that this Kansas City offense actually has found a little bit of lifeblood in the latter part of the season for an offense that's really been lackluster for the totality of the season. So, hey, anytime we're going to be talking Pat Mahomes and having the ball in his hand to win the game, makes a lot of sense to me. And it also fits nicely with how to attack this defense. And it actually segues nicely into the first prop that I have. I'm actually going to be looking the other way. We've been accused a little bit of only looking towards the Kansas City side. Well, don't worry, San Francisco 49ers faithful. We have some overs that we like for the 49ers. We don't think it'll be all Kansas City action. And I'm going to be looking for Brock Purdy to actually do some stuff with his legs in this game. I'm going Brock Purdy over his 11.5 rushing yard total. Shop around. There's some 12.5s. I think there's even some 13.5s out there. So obviously get the best number. I like it at all three of those numbers because simply Super Bowl props, talk about the totality of the season. They take the entire year into account. It's how they obviously have to calculate and have the best possible number. But I personally think you should maybe weight recent form a little bit more when looking at these props, and especially trying to find value in Super Bowl props, because after not really using his legs much all year, being that prototypical pocket passer, really any rushes for him coming on more sporadic, broken down plays, not really planned as much, we've seen a little bit more of a concerted effort to show a little of the athleticism that Brock Purdy has in the offense. And in their playoff games so far, he's had 6 and 5 rushing attempts respectively, and he's gone over this number of 11.5 in both games. He had 48 yards rushing, as a matter of fact, against the Lions. Lions defense, a little bit different than this Chiefs defense. However, Sacks at the end of the day aren't going to be taken away from our rushing yard total. They're going to be taken away from the passing yard total. I think there could be some opportunities for some design scampers as well as broken down plays. And Brock Purdy's going to be looking to ball out, folks, man. I mean, even with the impressive season he's still had detractors, yours truly over here, that if he can, shut the door on the whole Mr. Irrelevant thing, he's going to look to make some plays. I think some of them are going to be with his legs. Give me over the 11.5 rushing yards for Brock Purdy for the first prop of the day for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. As you saw when the game got down to the nitty-gritty at the end of the Packers game, he went and willingly ran the ball. He's clearly a capable athlete. The Chiefs do get some pressure as well, so I could certainly see Brock Purdy needing to use his legs to make something happen later in this game. Now, Newbie, like you mentioned, this season you've been the Brock Purdy detractor for most of the season. I was been the supporter, but I'm going with a fade of Purdy, and this is not necessarily a fade of Purdy. It's more so just again, respect to the Chiefs defense that I have been fawning over for weeks on weeks on weeks.
Fair.
I like Purdy, longest completion under 37.5 yards. Now, this is nothing to do like Brock Purdy this season. Like they're number one in explosive pass rate. So he finished the season as 10th in yards per attempt with a high completion percentage. So this is not to say that he does not throw the football down the field. That is clearly not true. However, Kansas City defense, number one in the National Football League at defending explosive pass plays. And all season this year, they've only allowed 8 pass plays or more of 37.5 yards or more all season long. Only 8 of them all year long. They've also played, if you look at who they played Tyreek Hill a couple of times. They've also played other explosive offenses like the Jaguars, the Browns, the Ravens, and even the Giants. And Brock Purdy has not been able to go over that number when he's been throwing the football. So I just see this as a situation similar to like the Buffalo Bills game, where this actually coincides well with your prop, Newbie, that they're not going to let the big play happen. If they want to run McCaffrey for 4 or 5 yards at a clip or 3 to 5 yards at a clip, then have Brock Purdy, throwing short underneath passes, and then, hopefully holding them to a field goal, forcing a turnover, and then, having the ball in Mahomes' hands. I think that's more of the game plan. Like all season long, the Chiefs have refused to be getting beaten on downfield passes. I don't expect that to happen in this matchup. The one devil's advocate up there with myself is then you have a guy like a George Kittle, a Deebo Samuel, or a Brandon Ayuk. Those are guys who, even a McCaffrey, who after the catch, if they make a man miss, they can convert that. And that would obviously hurt this bet. But that's also, we're talking 37.5 yards. So I expect a lot more underneath throws. If Purdy's going deep for like a Brandon Ayuk, we got L'Jarius Sneed and some good safety tandems there. The Chiefs are also weaker at the linebacker spot, which we'll get to shortly. So I would expect, again, more dink and dump. The Chiefs allowing them to run the football, and as they've done literally all season long, prevent the big play. Newbie, you're sticking with the Niners. Talk to me. Give me another prop.
Yeah, and I'm glad you also did add in that devil's advocate point, because that would be the only concern that I have as well is, a one Deebo Samuel play, hell, a one Brandon Ayuk or Christian McCaffrey. Like their offense can be explosive. However, this is, we've talked about the whole nuts on the table type of plays. Mm-hmm. And this is you saying, hey, man, I told you about this defense. I believe in this defense. So I get it. I don't know if I'm going to be riding on that one with you, but I definitely understand the thought behind going under that Purdy on his longest completion for sure. But yeah, mine's a little bit ugly too. I mean, we're going to be looking at a fullback to catch a pass here, folks. We're going Kyle Juszczyk over a half reception. So we're looking for him to grab one pass. Here's the thing. People are saying, what the heck? What are we doing? All these offensive stalwarts for this 49ers team, and you're coming on here with a Kyle Juicy play? Well, he might only be a fullback, but he's been targeted at least once in over half of the 49ers games this season. He is a part of this offense and not just being a lead blocker. And this is the kind of game Kyle Shanahan has also heard talk about, how you're a choker this, you're a choker that. This is time to pull a couple tricks out of the bag here. And the 49ers, if they pull off this win, while they are favored in this game, it would be a huge, huge moment for all of them. Obviously, winning the Super Bowl is, but just because of all the naysayers that they've had over the past few seasons, we're just asking Kyle Juszczyk to get a catch. That's it. And I also earlier, I bet his receiving yards over. We did a show with our friend Adam Rosenberg for Outlier. And we all were like, hey, man, this number is off when it was over 1.5 yards for Kyle Juszczyk. It's ticked up at 3.5 now, but it's if you're going to play him to get a catch, you might as well play that as well, even at 3.5, because any game that he did get a target and a catch, he got at least 4 yards or more. So the number, it's either going to win or lose by the hook, or he doesn't get a target and we potentially lose both. But I'm going to over the half reception. And also our man Eric Garcia does an incredible job behind the scenes here for us at WagerTalk, creating graphics, running shows. We love that guy. He also saw me drop this one in the Slack, and he found Kyle Juszczyk's alternate receptions is 2 or more. So no push. If he gets 2, it goes over, and it's plus 260. Now, if you have a little bit extra bankroll, you like those plus money plays, it's definitely not a plus EV play, but a potential check down game script where we get Juszczyk 1 or 2 targets. For what it's worth, he has had games where he has had 5 or more targets with the 49ers. So it's not the craziest thing in the world to think in the Super Bowl, you maybe bull some razzle dazzle. Kyle Juszczyk over the half reception. That's for me. I like the yards over as well. And for our man Eric Garcia, why don't we sprinkle a little bit on that 260 of 2 or more catches? I'm a big Juszczyk fan in this game. Not going to play him for MVP though, EP. That might be a little too far.
If you want to take a Juszczyk crazy bet, take him first touchdown, or even last touchdown, maybe that'd be something fun to sprinkle. And the thing about Juszczyk, he is always on the field. So, like you said, there is always the possibility for him to have that one play where they leak him out or they do some trickery with him to maybe even get him a crazy odds touchdown, or like you said, get him over a catch and over 1.5 receiving yards. That man is playing football for the 49ers when they're on offense. So I'm with you. So or if you don't know, if you didn't watch the last show, I'm on the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'm still talking some more props for the 49ers. And this is a fun little sprinkle. I'm talking pizza money at best. I'm going with George Kittle to lead the game in receiving yards. That's plus 750 at FanDuel. By the time I bet this, so I bet this on Monday, it was like plus 370 at DraftKings. So it felt like that was such a big discrepancy that I was like, okay, like I'll take the bait here. I already mentioned that Brandon Ayuk is going to be shadowed by L'Jarius Sneed, a great cornerback. I think that I know that the Chiefs all year long, they've done a great job at bracketing and slowing down wide receiver 1 options. We saw last week or 2 weeks ago with Zay Flowers kind of getting loose a little bit, but a lot of those big plays were on Lamar Jackson scrambles and things like that. And that's not something that while Purdy has shown some athleticism, he's not going to be extending the pocket as crazily as, Mr. Lamar Jackson was doing. But going back to what I said about the Chiefs linebackers, that is the weakest point of this defense is in the middle of the field against the linebackers, which is why you could expect a heavy dose of Christian McCaffrey. But I do think that if this is a slog fest under type game, which it has the potential to be, because as we know, the Chiefs offense has not been completely explosive, and the 49ers offense, they can run the football, and the Chiefs can run the football on them as well. But I'm going with Kittle again because middle of the field, he is a threat, and also the Kansas City Chiefs run a lot of man coverage, and George Kittle is a great weapon against man coverage. Obviously, this is a bit of a long shot, 7.5 to 1, but I like a little bit of a sprinkle on Kittle to be the beneficiary of a weaker Chiefs middle of the field and linebacking core.
Yeah, and honestly, it's the Super Bowl, man. Like again, you don't want to pull off the whole entire rubber band, use your whole entire bankroll, but that's why having some plays like this that then has action the entire game, because who knows, one play at the end of the game, you could be going back and forth. So at a 7 to 1, man, I love adding stuff like this in. And I'd love if people hop below in the comments, let us know some of the craziest props that you're throwing in. Again, you go back to the other episode that we did advocate betting smartly in the Super Bowl. Don't throw it all away. But it is as my man Teddy Covers says, Christmas for sports bettors. So let's have some fun. It's 7 to 1, man. And one that also makes a lot of sense. It's not like you're just, hey, I tried to find a nice plus money play. This one's live and it's action you have throughout the game. So if you're trying to have fun, this is a good way to do it. So I'd love it if people hop below in the comments, let us know what kind of long shots you've been looking for a nice little payday this Sunday.
Let us know about the plus chicken. I want to mention to everybody as well, GoldSheet.com. We have a full list of player prop bets. $15. You get a breakdown of the big game, stats and information on the big game, as well as a big prop sheet. I only gave out, so far 4 of the props that I've given out. There's a whole 8 props total on that sheet. So make sure you go on over to GoldSheet.com, $15, and you get the entire prop sheet, as well as the breakdown of the big game and some stats for the big game, GoldSheet.com. Let's talk some game props. Start us off. You're looking at
Mm.
the shortest touchdown of the game to be under 1.5 yards. I got to ask you, though, also, which QB is getting that QB sneak? Are we talking some McCaffrey on the goal line nonsense here?
Hey, maybe we're talking use check on the goal line. Who
Here
knows?
we are.
All I know is this is, I mean, I love saying, like our man Joe Ranieri, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. On our final NFL show of the year, I had to come with one of those. And that's what this is. It's kind of the wise guy special. This is, you have to lay minus 135 to do it, but it's a nice price because it's something that's happened 9 out of the last 15 years is going under 1.5 yards on the shortest touchdown, and it's hit in 4 straight years. Why does this hit? Pass interference, man. Those refs love becoming a part of the game. One little tug in the end zone, and you just probably cash your ticket if we don't get a goal line stuff. So, as far as who's going to get it, I'm not sure. If the Eagles were in this game, then I would feel pretty good about a potential tush push going down. But we've seen some teams struggle with that. But it really ends up just being the number makes sense to me. Sure, I got to lay minus 135. A lot of, Barney's at the bar, they would say, oh, over 1.5, hey, it's going to be a 5-yard touchdown. It's going to be this. Hey, it might be wrong, but if you cashed on it 4 straight years and it makes sense to me, I should be laying 2-1 to bet this with the frequency that it's hit at and also the frequency it hits in NFL games as a whole. Get a nice short touchdown. Under 1.5 is the look for me on a little wise guy special. This is one that I've heard a lot of people on. I was on it once it opened up, and I've bet it the last 4 years. I got to do it this year, so I got to give it out here on GoldSheet TV.
Yep. Can't blame you for doing so. Like you said, the real crux of everything is the penalties. You're going to get a PI.
Yeah, it has to be a penalty. Unless you get tackled on the goal line, the real way that you get this home is a PI in the end zone, and it happens more than I like to admit. Happened to my Eagles last year in the Super Bowl.
And then you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who obviously is capable of running one in. You have a guy like Christian McCaffrey, who's obviously capable of plowing his way in for a yard,
Yeah.
and a guy like Isaiah Pacheco, who's also capable. So totally see where you're coming from there, newbie. All right, I got another one here. I'm rocking with the 49ers to convert on 4th down at some point in this game.
Ooh, I like that.
I expect that this was only minus 110 when I saw it. So this isn't even something that's like juicy. The Niners have been one of the least converted, one of the lower rates on 4th down in the season because they just didn't really go for a lot of 4th downs. They've been in a lot of positive game scripts, a lot of situations where they didn't really need to do so. As you should know by this point, I am a Chiefs backer here. I do expect this game to come down to a final possession, as I'll talk about on another prop we have going later. So I just think that there is going to be a situation where the 49ers are going to have to decide, do we want to punt the ball back to Patrick Mahomes or have Jake Moody, a horrible field goal kicker, attempt a high-pressure, high-leverage field goal? And even though Kyle Shanahan is a little bit conservative at times with these kind of situations, I expect him in the biggest stage possible to say, we have guys like Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk. We need 2, 3, 4 yards. We have to go get those 2, 3, 4 yards instead of punting the football. So I think it's kind of like a no-brainer, to be honest. I think that this is a situation where you're in a Super Bowl, you're in a potentially expected close game with a spread of 2 points. We saw what happened with the Ravens and the Chiefs in that 2 games ago. Like the Ravens were going for a 4th down on their own 30 because they were too scared to throw the football back to Patrick Mahomes and lose that lead. So I think that there's way too many ways for this to hit, especially given the odds of being minus 110. Again, the devil's advocate is Shanahan conservative and that they prefer to not do those things. But again, if you're going to have to ask Jake Moody to kick a 50-yard field goal, punt, or go for a 4th and 2 in the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl, I think it's a pretty obvious decision to go for that 4th and 2. Now, they still have to convert it. Don't get me wrong. But again, with the bevy of weapons the 49ers have, I think they are more than capable. All right, that is for the main props. But now let's talk some fun stuff going on.
Yeah,
You're pulling one out of the woodwork here. Talk to me. The total jersey number of touchdown scores over 121.5. How'd you come to this one?
Oh yeah, baby. Let's get the abacuses out, and you're gonna be having to calculate while you're watching the game. We're going over 121.5 as the total of jersey numbers scored in the game. The reason why I think this makes a heck of a lot of sense, I started by just thinking, oh man, that seems like it's a little bit high, but then I correlated it to who are the players most likely to score a touchdown in this game? And I did that by looking at the top 4 odds of who will score a touchdown in this game. And that's McCaffrey, Pacheco, and Kelsey. That's the top 3 players. So that's 23 is McCaffrey. Pacheco is number 10. That's not going to help us out much. But then we get Kelsey with that nice 87, baby. If those 3 guys score, you're looking at 120. And then all we need is as long as we don't get McKinnon or someone who's at 1 ended us dying by the hook there. I looked at some other players. Deebo Samuel is 4th most. Number 19, Rashee Rice. We wouldn't love it if we got him in the end zone. That's 4. George Kittle, a guy who might get into the end zone, 85. If we're looking at like Kelsey and Kittle, boom, those 2 guys score, we're already over. So there's just so many different permutations of players that could get into this end zone that puts us around the 121.5 number. And if you also just look at the expected amount of touchdowns in this game, I was looking like 4 total touchdowns is like minus 425. So the implied probability of there being enough scores to get us in the conversation of this number, I was shocked that you didn't have to lay more of it. It's a fun bet that you get to have action all game long. It's something that, I'm not going to make a 5% play or anything like that, but the numbers make sense. A game that figures to see some scores, even though I like the under, a combination of 1 or 2 players could get us over this number, or 2 or 3 players, excuse me. Nobody has a 122 on the back of their jersey, but two tight ends, get a little tight end special here for Taylor Swift. That one's going. And I did read the fine print. If it's a Kelsey touchdown, you count both of those jersey numbers. So if you are a 2-time touchdown scorer, you use those numbers for both of them. So that fine print made me feel like this is actually just a mispriced number. I feel like it should be higher. So let's have some fun, man. Over the 121.5. Get those calculators out, folks.
And like you said, the implied probability of how many touchdowns are going to be scored in this game is a huge factor in this one. But like you said, also you just got to make sure that Jet McKinnon is not stealing any late touchdowns there from
Then we're done. We're done. If we got 2 Rashee Rice touchdowns and a McKinnon, we're cooked.
You're cooked. But hopefully you get a Clyde Edwards-Helaire touchdown steal, so you get like a little 25 action there to boost that number up. I'm not sure what number Juice Check rocks, to be honest, but I'm assuming it'd be higher than whatever.
We're looking in the 40s for our man Juice Check. 48. We'll take that, baby.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I absolutely love that. I'm going with some absolute bombs right now. I'm going with 2 exact scores. So the first one I'm going with, I think I gave it out on the show last week. I'll give it out again. This was the prediction I had on the GoldSheet: 26-20 Kansas City Chiefs. There is no absolute mathematical reasoning behind this one. This is simply me thinking that there's going to be some nonsense in the kicking game. The 49ers are going to need to come from behind. I expect it to be, or my vision of this, my manifestation of this happening would be the Chiefs kick a late field goal to go up 26-20. The 49ers have the football left with about a minute and a half to go, maybe 1 or 2 timeouts. They have to go the length of the field to score a touchdown and then, hopefully kick the field goal to win the game. And then the Kansas City Chiefs defense is able to get a stop and kneel it out. And that's your football game, 26-20. Andy Reid is a generally conservative coach as well on going for it for 4th down. And they have a lot of trust for Harrison Butker. So I think there is a lot of, correlation there where, again, I expect it to be 23-20. The Chiefs are guys going to look for that nail in the coffin drive. 49ers defense stands up. Butker kicks the field goal and make it 26-20 because Andy Reid is going to go for that field goal there. If it's like a 4th and 5, he trusts his guy. And then the Kansas City Chiefs defense, full circle moment, held them up all season long, is going to get that final stop to end the 49ers and Brock Purdy's run to cement the legacy for the Chiefs. And then the second one. This one is actually courtesy of TA Analytics. We've been shouting out TA all year long. He's the GOAT. Thank you, TA. He did the research here, and I'm honestly telling. Exact score, Chiefs 31, Niners 17. And it's pretty simple. He has an amazing database. He did some research. And over the last 20 years, every NFL game with a spread between 1 and 2.5 and a total between 46 and 47.5, the most common score has been 31-17. When you break that down even more, in a Super Bowl since 2000, last 23 years, the second most common score is 31-17, which has occurred in nearly 11% of the recent Super Bowls. So if you're just playing the numbers, you're talking about a bet that is 150-1. So again, do not be throwing any 401ks or taking out any extra money to be putting on these exact scores there for fun. But the prices for them are varying from 130 to 1 to 150 to 1. We're talking absolute bombs, talking lottery tickets. But this one has some merit to it. It's the most common final score in the situation of the spread in total. Does that mean it's going to happen? Absolutely not. But I'm worth the flyer. And it works also in the same way. If you like the 49ers and you like the stats that I'm laying out, you should take the 49ers 31-17. I personally took both because, again, I'd be remiss if I missed out either way. But exact scores: KC 26, San Francisco 20, KC 31, San Francisco 17. Now, newbie, you got a cross sports parlay to finish us off with. Tell us about this final prop you got.
Yeah, this is a fun one. I wanted to get in the weeds for the folks and the people who tuned in for our first edition, our first annual edition here of our Gold Sheet TV show. We appreciated everyone all year long. So I really got in the weeds for Man United scores against Aston Villa or Christian McCaffrey total touchdowns against the Chiefs. The prices on this one: Man U, the favorite, at plus 110. This is a three-way prop, so there can be a tie at plus 225, and then McCaffrey sitting at plus 250. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a soccer handicapper. That's not my expertise, though I have friends who are. So I asked them what's their thoughts about Man U and Aston Villa, and it really boils down to that Man U has been on an absolute tear, netting goals, 3 or more in their past few games. However, they're playing against an Aston Villa team who's recorded several clean sheets in their last, so they're going to be facing a solid defense that they haven't quite seen. And then I looked at what makes most sense here. We go to the implied probability. McCaffrey is most likely going to get in the end zone in this game. At least that's what the odds say. 68.2% of the time, according to the odds, McCaffrey is going to be getting into the end zone. Man U to score in their game is minus 340. So that's 77.3% of an implied probability. So most likely both of these are going to get at least one, right? So then we try and figure what makes most sense for what's going to happen. Christian McCaffrey getting 2 touchdowns or Man U scoring 2 goals. The over for Man U at 1.5 team total is plus 135. McCaffrey to score 2 touchdowns is plus 245. So both of them, have some plus chicken towards them. That's why I think the most likely outcome in this one, we're going to get one from each. So let's do it in true soccer fashion. Have to have our bet win thanks to a tide. Plus 225. That's the way we're going. Let's have some fun, have some dual screen action going on here. Man U gets 1 goal. Christian McCaffrey gets 1 touchdown. Plus 225. Let's have a little fun this Sunday. That's the way that I'm going. Man U to tie goals with Christian McCaffrey total touchdowns. What do you think about that one, man? Got in the weeds, didn't I?
Newbie, I love your use of clean sheet. You really did your research there, talking with the soccer lingo. You had it going.
That thanks to Welcome to Wrexham documentary. That's how I know any of my soccer terms.
So that's going to do it for Gold Sheet TV. Now, Newbie and I are going to work on a schedule for how we're going to start doing some off season. Of course, we have NBA and MLB coming up, which, if you don't know, get ready for me in the MLB because I absolutely love Major League Baseball. I'm going to get some content going, and we'll get that rocking and rolling. But quick rundown of the props. Player props. Mahomes over 36.5 pass attempts. Purdy over 11.5 rushing yards. Purdy under 37.5 yards for his longest completion. Kyle Juszczyk over half a reception, also over receiving yards. And George Kittle to lead the game in receiving yards. Game props, shortest touchdown under 1.5 yards, and the 49ers to convert a 4th down. Fun props, total jersey number of touchdown scorers over 121.5. Exact scores: KC 26, San Francisco 20, KC 31, San Francisco 17, and which will be more Man United goals, not City, Man United goals, or Christian McCaffrey touchdowns, a tie at plus 225. So that'll wrap it up for Gold Sheet TV for the Super Bowl. Again, if you need the full breakdown of the game, the props, there are additional props up that I wrote about that I did not talk about on the show, and a full stat sheet on the game. That is $15 on goldsheet.com. Road to the Super Bowl, all access, all picks for the rest of the year through 2025 Super Bowl, 5%, 4%, all sports. That is over at WagerTalk.com. On behalf of Newbie and I and our producers, the Gold Sheet and WagerTalk, we want to thank everybody for tuning in on an amazing season. And we will be back. We'll figure out when, where, why, and how, but Newbie and I will be talking football before you know it. And stay tuned on this channel for more NBA and MLB content. Leave us a like and subscribe if we helped you out this season. and we'll see you guys next time.